Hello everyone, welcome back to a very special video. I'm DTM as always, and we have a banner featuring Roy's harem, apparently. Yes, it's the 2022 Bridal Banner, and we have some very interesting units, and in this video we'll be discussing them, analyzing their best builds, and answering the question of whether or not we should summon. But before we get into that, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot, and I really do appreciate all the constant support. We just recently reached 900 subscribers, which is super amazing. Thank you all so much, and if possible, it would be super cool if we can reach 1,000 in the future. And yeah, the first unit on this banner is Bridal Lilina. So Bridal Lilina comes with a preference weapon called True Love's Roses, which grants her Slaying, the Quick Impulse effect, Attack Res +6, and True Damage based off of 10% of the unit's res. She also comes with a new skill called Stillwater 4, which is sort of like Life and Death, except instead of boosting your visible attack and speed, it boosts your visible attack and res, which is a pretty cool skill for slow AoE mages, but honestly I think it's probably going to be fairly niche, since most of the AoE mages that are prevalent are fast and would probably prefer Life and Death, but regardless, Stillwater is an option for those that are more slow. And in general, as a unit, I do feel that Bridal Lilina is sort of a side grade to Legendary Lilina. What Legendary Lilina has instead of Bridal Lilina is Hardy Bearing. Legendary Lilina has Hardy Bearing in her weapon, which allows her to get around Vantage. Now Vantage isn't exactly that common anymore, but still I probably prefer that compared to the True Damage, since you're not really going to get much out of the True Damage. Like 10% of the unit's res is probably around 5 or 6 True Damage realistically, so honestly not that much of a boost. But like Bridal Lilina is not season locked and is blue, so she doesn't struggle as much against, say, like Brave Hector, like her legendary version does. But like, let's be real, Brave Hector probably still beats Bridal Lilina. I mean, regardless, she is going to do Lilina things that we've come to expect with Legendary Lilina. She's going to AoE nuke, and being a cav really helps with that. And yeah, as for her builds, I definitely recommend swapping out Joint Disregard. Bridal Lilina does not really benefit from Joint Disregard at all, since she definitely wants to try to increase the difference between her visible attack and the enemy's visible res as much as possible, and Joint Disregard does not help with that. And also, you're probably not going to activate the within 2 spaces of an ally condition, since she is a cavalry unit, so you'll probably go in far away from her team and nuke someone, especially if you're using her on like Ether Raid's defense or even in Summoner's duels. So on a budget, like Res Smoke could work fine. Obviously that doesn't help with the initial combat, but if you spread out the Res Smoke to the foe's allies, then if she gets danced and can attack again, that gifted magic damage will be even more powerful. And of course, Life and Death 3, again, boosting up her attack to get as much damage out of gifted magic as much as possible. Alternatively, if you want to have a more expensive build, you can run Attack Res Menace. Not only will that lower the foe's resistance, but also increase your own attack as well, so you don't have to rely on someone else giving visible buffs, and so that is really synergistic with gifted magic. And of course, as I mentioned before, since she does not have Hardy Bearing, if you're worried about Vantage units, you probably have to run Hardy Bearing 3 if you're worried about that. Again, Vantage is not exactly common, but I just know that if I run Bridal Lilina without Hardy Bearing, I'm immediately going to encounter like all these Vantage palaces. So yeah, probably better to be safe than sorry. And yeah, the next unit on this banner is Bridal Sophia. So Bridal Sophia is a flying red tome and comes with Dragon Bouquet, which grants her attack +3, all stats +5, the Raven Tome effect, and the guaranteed follow-up attack effect. In addition, she comes with a new C skill called Attack Res Hold, which is effectively the tier 4 version of Attack Res Rain, like how Speed Res Hold that Sonya had was the tier 4 version of Speed Res Ryan. And so, obviously they're probably going to continue having more variations of these hold skills. which makes sense since these Rhine skills were definitely very popular and are definitely best in slot for a lot of units. As for Bridal Sophia herself, she is a very bulky mage flyer, and she can definitely take counterattacks due to her bulk, or act sort of like a tank, a ranged tank, as long as you like avoid bows. And Raven Tomes are really good to beat colorless units, especially let's say Fallen Rhea, Fallen Edelgard. Not exactly the most meta relevant as of now, but you know, it's still a good thing. The thing that really holds her back though is the limited B slot options. Ranged flyers are treated very poorly by IS, which is so sad, because like there's so many skills that she cannot use. Like you can't even use any of the flow skills, I believe. I don't know what's going on with that. Ranged flyers need something. And unfortunately for her, I don't really think she really has a place right now in any of the modes. Like, she's not going to be used in Arena, even at a +10, unless you give her R dual flying 4, which is an option, but I don't think she's the best user of that. In Ether Raid's defense or Ether Raid's offense, again, I don't really think there is a meta place for her. Like, on defense, there's just a lot better options, in my personal opinion. And in Ether Raid's offense, well, Ether Raid's offense is basically dominated by save taking, or hit and run / Gale Force, which I don't think Bridal Sophia really does effectively. So yeah, unfortunately for Bridal Sophia, I don't think she really has a place. But regardless, for her build, you can definitely run her as a more player phase oriented strategy, with like Sturdy Impact, AR Far Trace, her base attack res hold, and blade session, just boosting out her attack output as much as possible while also boosting up her defensive capabilities in case she needs to withstand counterattacks. Alternatively, you can try to speed stack her. I don't know how effectively this works, but like with Dragon Bouquet, attack speed catch 4, SR Far Trace, speed res hold, and blade session, like what? Dragon Bouquet gives 5 speed, attack speed catch 4 gives 9, speed res far trace gives 3, speed res hold gives 4, blade session gives 9. Like, she can reach effectively around 50 speed, which might not be as crazy as like 70 or whatever, but it definitely does beat out a lot of the units that do have like the Wary Fighter effects that would cancel out her guaranteed auto double. So if her auto double gets cancelled by the Wary Fighter effect, you still have the natural speed to naturally double. And so that's the idea of the speed build. Not sure how it works in practice, but I'm very interested to see how people try it out, if one wants to do so. And also, as I mentioned before, you can definitely use her as a ranged tank as well, with Mirror Stance 3, Guard 3, because there's not a lot of options for ranged flyers, as I mentioned before, attack res hold, and Io's shield, in case you run into bows. If you are confident that you'll not get hit by bows, you can swap that out for Form Skill, but honestly, again, better be safe than sorry. And yeah, the next unit is Bridal Cecelia, and Bridal Cecelia is a Red Tome Cavalry unit, and our 4-star focus of the banner. She comes with Bridal Orchid, which grants attack res +5, and bonus doubler for attack and res specifically. It's a pretty decent inheritable and is serviceable for a lot of units, including Bridal Cecelia herself, but I personally think if you're going to rely on visible buffs that Blade Tomes, I think are better, and I personally probably prefer like Rar Fox or maybe even Rar Vulture. And as for Bridal Cecelia herself, she is a cheap option if you're looking for a Red Mage Cavalry. I put cheap in quotation marks as she still costs orbs compared to a unit like Arate, who is honestly pretty similar to Bridal Cecelia, but just costs grails, which I think is a lot more cheaper since orbs, I feel, are definitely the more premium currency. I mean, the problem with Bridal Cecelia is that she does face a lot of competition from units like Dual Leaf, Legendary Lilina, and maybe even like Spring Severa and things like that. And unfortunately, I don't think she really stands out compared to Arate. Like, Arate is free, you can build her up pretty much the same as Bridal Cecelia, and can pretty much do the job as well. And also being red, does mean that she does have a hard time against Brave Hector or Ascendant Idun, which are very prominent bar save units. But still, she can definitely be used very effectively, and with the build to the left, basically what you want to do is to heavily double down on debuffing the enemy. The attack res menace will debuff the enemy's attack and res, which synergizes well with Raw Vulture and attack res catch 4. And yeah, that just doubles down on that debuff and makes her super powerful. You can swap out attack res form for a different seal like attack res solo or even blade session just to boost that attack power. And of course you can also swap the lull for a trace skill. For the build on the right, you can definitely speed stack her. She does have a decent speed stack when heavily invested, and the idea is the same, just doubling down on those debuffs. Attack speed catch 4 and speed smoke 4 really helps push her speed up, and blade session of course is there to increase her speed and attack even further. And yeah, now to the star of this banner, we have Harmonized Roy, along with his dad Eliwood. Harmonized Roy is an Axe Cavalry unit that comes with Blazing Polearms, which grants him Slaying, all stats +5, and Canto 2. In addition, unfortunately Roy is still racist, so he comes with Dragon and Beast effectiveness. And this is the interesting part. That weapon also inflicts a penalty, in-combat penalty, to the foe based on the current bonuses on your unit, at a maximum of -6. So, for instance, if you have attack +6 and speed +6, that means that the enemy will have -6 debuff on all of their stats, since it's not calculated independently. So that is effectively, what, an 11 stat differential with Blazing Polearms. In addition, Roy does come with a Preference C, Faith in Humanity, and again, Roy's really showing his racist sides. I don't know why they made Roy like this. Like, it doesn't make any sense. But regardless, the Preference C is that if he is within 3 spaces of a non-dragon or beast ally, he grants an attack speed +6 visible bonus to himself and those allies. In addition, if there are more than 2 non-dragon or beast allies that have greater than or equal to 10 total bonuses, he gets the tempo effect. And so, yeah, obviously the attack speed +6 really helps synergizes with his weapon, and the tempo ensures that his specials are getting procced and not denied by things like guard. Also, he comes with a new B skill called Flow Force 3, which is the half NFU and neutralizes penalties to attack at speed. And it's a decent alternative to Flow Guard, but honestly I think I prefer Flow Guard. Like, if this neutralizes all penalties, I think it would have been better, but unfortunately it's only neutralizing penalties to attack at speed, and I think denying specials in general is more important. And that's not even coming to talk about his Harmonized skill, which grants a defense res +6 buff, resonant shields, and the treachery effect to unit and allies from the same titles, which is FE6 and FE7. And treachery is like a reverse dominance. Instead of granting true damage based off of the foe's debuffs, it grants true damage based on your current bonuses, which obviously is very powerful. True damage is always really good. And as for Groom Roy himself, he's effectively a green Brave Erica. He'll be very effective in busting down dragon units like Idun and Rhea, who I think are pretty common in the meta. I think dragons are very strong right now, and Roy being able to just nuke them is really good. Him having Slaying also allows him to be run with Gale Force and ARO, especially with the tempo, able to have him counteract potential guard skills. And also, since the Canto is not in a Preference B, but in his weapon, that leaves his B slot free for something like Hit and Run, which you can use to effectively have a Canto 3 instead of just a Canto 2. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll be as impactful as someone, say, like Sonya or New Year's Dagger or Valentine's Crom or even Dual Ike. Like, the thing about Roy is that Roy is a lot more combat focused than previous duels or harmonics. Like, Sonia has the special cooldown charge, Dagger has Pathfinder, Chrom has a special cooldown charge too with the Link skill in his weapon, and even Dual Ike, which I ragged on as a red sword infantry, at least his dual skill like has like a pulse smoke effect, right? Like that is really useful utility. Roy's utility is true damage, and that is very powerful, but it's still mainly combat focused, I feel, and I don't think has as much utility as those other duels or harmonics. But obviously he's still a very good unit, and so when running him, I did mention he can be very powerful for Gale Force, and you can definitely use that. Heavy Blade Seal, obviously, to get those Gale Force procs, and then that's basically just base kit. If you're going to run him in Summoner's Duels, you could definitely do, on a budget, a Hit and Run build. Sturdy Surge is there just because of the base kit. Hit and Run, as I mentioned, effectively gives him a Canto 3 instead of just a Canto 2. And Blade Session, again, to boost his attack and speed, so that he has that much more attack power. Personally though, I would recommend swapping Sturdy Surge for like Surge Sparrow if you have the fodder for it, because you definitely want to boost speed instead of defense as much as possible. And also, I do think that Flow Guard in general is probably better than Flow Force 3. And so if you don't want to run Hit and Run, but instead Flow Guard 3 because you're scared of double denial, you can definitely run Flow Guard 3. That is perfectly fine. You still get the Canto 2. And yeah, he'll definitely be hitting extremely hard. And yeah, as for the question of whether or not you should summon, obviously this question depends on what your barracks have and what your goals are, but from a meta perspective, I think the only unit that is quote-unquote worth pulling for is Roy. Like, Bridal Lilina is a side grade to Legendary Lilina, and both of them honestly still struggles with the common save units, especially Brave Hector. And Sophia and Cecelia, honestly, I don't feel really have a place and don't stand out enough. And Roy is definitely very good, but I don't think he will be as impactful as, say, Yuri or New Year's Dagger, Sonia, or Valentine's Chrom. He can definitely perform very well in Summoner's Duels, but I think there are probably better options for your orbs, and you definitely do not need Roy to succeed. Like, I think Roy will be on the same level as Brave Erica is currently. Probably not like the top of the top tier, but like tier 2 or tier 2.5 maybe. Obviously, it's really hard, and we haven't had a SDR rotation with Roy yet, so honestly, the jury's still out on that. But I do know for sure that you do not need to pull for Roy to succeed. I mean, obviously you can always pull for your favorites. I do it all the time, and you can definitely pull on these favorites. Like, I think all of these units will be serviceable, but you definitely do not need to feel pressured into summoning. Don't give in to IS if you don't want to. But yeah, very interesting banner, and thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, be sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that jazz to help support the channel. Only takes 5 seconds to subscribe, but it truly does help out this channel a lot. And I really do appreciate all the constant support, and let's hope we can make 1,000 subscribers soon. And yeah, I'm personally going to be skipping this banner. I know that by the time this video releases, a lot of people have already made their decisions, but for those that have not and are still waiting, I hope this was helpful. And yeah, let me know which of these units are your favorites, and what other build options do you have in mind for these units down in the comments. And yeah, thank you all so much for watching, and see you all next time.